Hey, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about the DECA. So, the DECA is an assessment, but before we get into it, stop, wait, don't forget to comment, subscribe, like, share this video if you find it helpful by the end of the video. So let's just get right into it. All right, so we're going to be talking about the who, the what, and the how of the DECA and what it really is. I first want to start off by saying the DECA is not a test. It is it's an assessment tool, and or more so like a checkup for your child's emotions and behaviors and interactions. So just like you would take your child to the doctor to get a checkup, of their year or every months checkup, it's essentially the same. So in our program, or the program that I work for, I do it 3 times a year, and the DECA is it's a tool that I use to help guide me with knowing who needs extra support. So that is basically what it stands for, the Devereaux Early Childhood Assessment, and it's a really, I feel like it's one of the best assessments, or one of the better assessments, because it doesn't just focus on, it's not a deficit in there. It talks more so, or assess more so, of the strengths of your child. So it's asking questions like, does your child seek affection from familiar adults? Does your child smile at other children? So it's asking all of these questions about the things that your child should be doing, but it also gives a good printout of where your child is, where the strengths of your child, and then it also does show us where we need to better support the child. But it very much is a strengths-based assessment. So if you're watching this, you might have heard that your child's teacher or a therapist or some sort is completing a DECA, or you as a parent yourself should have, or you might have completed a DECA. For me, my process is that both parents and the teacher fill out a DECA, and then I take those two and I combine them, or I won't combine them, I'll compare them to see what the teacher says and what the parent says, and then I will have a conversation with both parties, but we'll get into that a little bit later about how that goes and how it plays into how I support the family and the teachers in the classroom. So let's get started. So this is an emotional wellness checkup for young children. Just like a doctor's, like I said, measures height and weight to see how your child's growing physically, the DECA checks up on the emotional state. So it simply just helps us to know where your child is when it comes to emotions. So let's talk about who it's for. So the DECA is for children ranging between the ages of birth up until 5 years old. There are different versions of the test or the assessment depending upon the age of the child. And the questions also vary depending upon the age of your child, because you wouldn't say that you wouldn't ask if an infant asks to do new things and the infant is like 2 months old, because that's not developmentally appropriate. So, and it's not expected. So again, it depends on the age of the child. Next, let's talk about how it is completed. So it's completed, like I said, by the parent and by the teacher. So in my process, I give it to the parent at their enrollment process, which is before the child ever hits the classroom, right? So it gives me an opportunity. I play with the child. I see the child while the parent is completing their DECA. So I kind of get an observation. I get my own little view of the child first. And then on paper, I look at what the parent has said. Sometimes I'll send it ahead of time so that I can just focus on and I'll study it before the child comes in, and then I'll kind of compare that to my observation. And then I will let the parents know what their results are from what they completed. Because again, remember, this is based off a parent report. It's based off of what the parent sees, what the parent knows about their child. there could be a lot of factors that could cause the assessment to kind of be thrown off a little bit, if you will. I guess maybe the validity of it, only because a lot of factors could, be happening for them to answer a certain question a certain way, if that makes sense. And the same for the teacher as well. There are other factors that come into play. It could be that the teacher hasn't had the opportunity to observe a child doing something, like asking for something new, or hasn't had the opportunity, especially during that very first DECA. It could be that the teacher and the child just don't have a good connection, but they do have a good connection with the other teacher in the classroom. So factors come into play. So they both, and then I usually wait 2 to 3 weeks after the child has been in the classroom, and then I give the pre-DECA to the teacher to complete, because I want the child to have a chance to build rapport, or the teacher to build rapport with the child, and to build a relationship, the teacher to get to understand the child's patterns, at least a little bit. And then once they're both completed, then I take them and look at them both, and I have conversation with parents, talk to them about the difference between the two, if there's a difference, and then we move on from there to talk about where I can come in and help if need be. And again, some of the questions might be statements like, the child shows affection for familiar adults, can calm down when upset, tries to solve problems on their own, just simple things. And they rate them using the tool never, rarely, sometimes, often, very often. And then, it takes about 10 minutes to complete this assessment as well. So it's not very long, but it does ask a good amount of questions in order to get a nice little snapshot or view of the child's the child's behaviors. So let's talk about next what it measures. So it measures 3 protective factors, right? So 3 main ones are attachment and relationship. That's how they interact with each other, or how they interact with other people, children and adults in their environment. Is there a connection? They seek help when they're upset. Do they show affection or respond positively to guidance? Can they transition? Like these types of things. The next is self-regulation, and that is how your child manages feelings and behaviors. Does it take them, can they calm down? Can they wait for a turn? It's asking about problem solving type things. So this is basically looking at, can your child take another choice when the choice that they want is not available? That type of thing. Are they able to just regulate those big emotions, or at least participate in co-regulating? Because I always say first, and it's a known fact, children have to learn to co-regulate before they can self-regulate, right? They gotta have some type of support to help them calm down first before they can learn to self-regulate. Last area is initiative, and that looks at how your child explores problem solving and do they show curiosity. So do they explore out on their own? Are they stuck up under someone? Do they try again when something's hard? Do they show creativity and independence? This part of the assessment lets us know, hey, is there a secure bond? And when a bond is secure between an adult and a child, or the child's attachment with the adult is secure, then they are able to explore their environment more freely, because they feel more comfortable. And so then they're going to take the initiative to want to try new things, go new places. They're going to want to, be more creative. So that's how those two kind of mesh together, if you will. So why does it matter? So we understand that we understand your child's strengths, challenges, and we can better support them. That is why the DECA is so important, because I don't know how many times before the parent can complete the DECA, if the child enrolls late, parent hasn't completed the DECA, teachers in the classroom, you know, it's not time for them. The teachers can't complete the DECA yet because they haven't had the child that long. And so but they're having issues with the child, behavior problems, and all these things are, you know, coming up for them. And I have to literally go in and figure it out until I can get the parents part of the DECA at least, so I can kind of, you know, get a better idea of what the parent sees on their end. And so it helps us to get a good handle on kind of what we're dealing with or what we're having to go in and support, and how it helps us to understand how we need to support the child as well. So let's say, for example, if your child scores high in attachment but lower in self-regulation, it might mean that they're very loving and social but have trouble calming down when they're frustrated. Or if it's the other way around, then it might mean that they can calm down, but they've had to do it on their own. They don't have that secure bond with an adult. And we all know that it just takes one caring, loving, responsive adult to help a child to become resilient. We call that protective factor. Help them to become resilient against any traumas that they face. And certain programs that provide childcare for children have a lot of families that have dealt with trauma, and children who still deal with trauma. And so it's so important for us to understand, okay, how much of a protective factor does this child need? Where can the teacher step in to be a good support? Because therapists come in maybe once or twice out of the week, but those teachers are there with those children longer hours out of the day than the parents are. So that's another reason why it's so important for the DECA to be given to the children, or given to the parents and the teachers, so we can know more about the children. So what happens after the results? I told you guys, we come together, have a conversation, and then I go in to observe one last time, because then I'm observing the dynamics between the teacher and the child, because I do know as a provider that it's not always the children that, especially if parents' DECA is strength, my observation in my office is strength, and is, you know, just straight strengths, and then you get into a classroom and it's only areas of needs or typical or whatever, then I'm gonna also look at the dynamics of the teacher. Like, could it be that the teacher didn't have a chance to observe those things? Could it be that the teacher's overwhelmed with too many children in the classroom and not enough hands, or her co-teacher isn't the best co-teacher? Like, I'm looking around at everything, not just at the child, because sometimes it's not just the child, it is the adult in the child's life, and they don't quite know how to respond to certain things. And sometimes behaviors can trigger adults. It just is what it is. And when adults are triggered, they don't really respond well, which then causes kind of chaos and an uproar, which then causes you to believe that the child has behavior problems. So it's a whole thing. So I go in and I look very closely at all parties and in the entire environment. And so how parents can support at home. So afterwards, I usually email and talk to parents. I do a video virtual call with parents, and I give them suggestions on what they can do, and it's tailored specifically to their child's results. So if the child is in need of support in self-regulation, then I give them, you know, tools about self-regulation, and I really take time to study each child's report so that I can give them a customized suggestion form. And I also, you know, check in with parents often to make sure that things are working well for them. So things like naming feelings. I also always encourage parents to read to your children. Read books. I don't care. I do care what type of books. They need to be children books, but books that talk about emotions, books that have social situations happening in them, books that we call them social stories, books that match things that are happening in the child's life. So if you have a new baby coming, a book about a new baby for the character. If a child has experienced some type of trauma, read a book that's going to help them to cope with that type of trauma. Books about, from Angry Schubert collection from Conscious Discipline is my favorite, one of my favorites, because Schubert and Sophie have a bunch of social stories that are really good, and they deal with social emotional behaviors, and most of the time it's what children that I see deal with: anger, not taking turns, saying no, all these things. And so books, read. If I can't tell you guys anything else, I'm telling you to read to your kids. Okay, my rant is over. Let's see, what else? Also, the goal is to help your children to have social emotional language, or language about emotions. And so you do that by talking to them, playing games, having these goodbye and morning rituals or greetings, things like that. All that stuff can help build their social emotional vocabulary. So to sum it up, the DECA is a strength-based tool that helps you understand your child's emotional world, if you will. Yes, your emotional world. And it looks at helping the child to become resilient. It looks at how resilient they are likely to be already, and what areas they need support in becoming more resilient. I hope this video helps you to feel comfortable and informed, and I hope that puts you a little bit more at ease. If you have to complete a DECA, or if you're a teacher and you have to do a DECA for a child, I hope that this explains why we need them and why they need to be done in a timely manner, because it's to help us to support the classroom. Parents, same thing. It's to help us to support you at home if you need it, and to support the teachers in the classroom if they need it. I am Deidre Chanel. If you learned anything from this video, let me know. Comment, subscribe, all those things. Share it with somebody. Hit that post notification bell, because I'm getting ready to be dropping videos back to back. I've been doing it this week. I'm gonna do it again next week. So stay tuned. And let me know in the comments, what are some other things that you're wondering about childcare, or not really childcare, about mental health, social emotional awareness, all these things that have to do with kids and their feelings. Let me know what it is you're interested in, because I just might have an answer for it. All right, y'all, I'm out. Love y'all. Bye.